Hello and welcome to my education training session. My name is Riley Rivera and today's training will be about differentiated instruction strategies. As teachers, we are fully aware that each and every child in our classroom is an individual, meaning they all have their own interests, abilities, motivation, skills, understandings, and so much more. With that being said, does it make sense to you to create the same instruction for every student in your classroom? Probably not. Because of the amount of differences in the classroom in ability, interest, understanding, and knowledge, amongst other things, it makes sense to create an instructional program that caters to every single child individually. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to give you a short introduction. Like I said, I am Riley Rivera. I taught in a Head Start classroom for 1 year, specifically ages 3 and 4. I have used differentiated instruction in the classroom, but my use of it was relatively narrow. I created differentiated instruction and implemented it into my lesson plans. I used tools to give all students the same ability and more. However, I did still need some guidance from other faculty, and because of that, I would probably give myself the apprentice level of understanding on the topic of differentiated instruction, specifically with my experience. Moving forward, today's training is focused on differentiated instruction, but specifically on interest-based strategies on differentiation. In my own experience, a student's interests have been shoved aside in favor of district-provided curriculum. My question to you, and I would like for you to reflect on this for the entire training, why can't a teacher use both strategies? Why can we not tie a learner's interest into the required skills? I wanted to learn more about this topic and share the information with you in a training session so that if you had those same questions, I can provide to you the same answers. With that being said, I conducted some research and about those interest-based learning and provided some differentiated instruction activities and examples for you so that you might be able to better answer those questions as well. So let us begin. Interest-based learning is an underrated strategy in the education field. From your own recollection, you might have thought school was boring for the most part. But can you actually remember that one teacher that stood out in the best ways? They had your best interests at heart. Most likely, you were able to remember something specific that teacher taught you. Interest is something that a person likes to talk about or likes to learn about. Carol Tomlinson even goes far enough to say that if a student has a spark of curiosity for a specific topic, they are interested in learning more about it. I think it is also safe to say that when a student connects their interests to what they're learning, then engagement is more likely to happen, and that is according to John McCarthy. I once had a student in my classroom who struggled with speech. He was interested in dinosaurs, so I brainstormed ways to connect this interest to his speech delay. My mind landed on a show and tell activity, a way for him to use his dinosaur to help him speak. He brought the dinosaur in and was able to string words together and tell us a little bit about his dinosaur. We repeated this activity from time to time throughout the year, and each time that we did it, his speech would improve. If he wasn't interested in the activity, though, he really wouldn't try and speak. So, what does this example say about interest in terms of education? Kaya, Lara, and Ari explain in a wonderful way that interest-based learning as a differentiated instruction strategy motivates the students to further explore the topic on their own and share what they've learned. Using the example from before, my student used his dinosaur interest as motivation to speak. If he wasn't motivated, he wouldn't speak. But his motivation actually triggered his speech, and he would improve and gather those skills because he was motivated. Students are also intrigued by what their friends are interested in and will listen and provide feedback. So I want to share with you just a few strategies that can pique the interest of your students and truly benefit them in the classroom based on their different interests. The first strategy that I have for you guys is actually differentiation by giving student choices. Katie Usher in 2019 said the best way to differentiate instruction is to give students a choice in how they show their learning. In my own college course, we actually show our learning in a variety of ways. We make YouTube videos, we write blog posts, we do training sessions, we do presentations, we do a variety of ways to show hey, I actually received this information, and this is what I gather from it. And I guarantee you that when my teacher looks at every single individual project, she's not getting the same answer once. Every single student has a different answer, and we have a different way of showing how we learned those answers. It's the same thing in elementary school, middle school, high school. In elementary school, have you ever looked at a portfolio from your students? I looked in my Head Start students' portfolios, and they had incredible artwork. There was artwork, there was work from, they had diary entries. They didn't know how to write, but they had their own diary entries. They had a variety of ways that showed that they knew what they were doing. They were learning something. In middle school, your students might show you that they learned something from their chapter of the book by presenting a play, writing a short story in the same theme, creating a picture, and so much more. There's not any one way that's correct for a student to show and demonstrate what they've learned. So that first strategy gives each student the power to show you what they've learned and how they've learned it. And that is different for every single student, and is therefore differentiating instruction based on their own interests. The next strategy that I have for you guys is called literature circles. I don't know about you, but I recall when I was in school, vaguely when I was in high school, that we would do literature circles, and it would be based on our abilities. But it was never really based on our interests. It was never based on how we presented the information to our classmates was never based on our interests. I have actually seen teachers use different jobs in the literature circle that was based on the students' interest. One student would ask questions, another student would draw a picture, another student would, give 3 bullet points. And these were ways for the students to really collaborate. Elena Aguilar in 2010 said that there are a few different reasons why literature circles are great for differentiated instruction. It provides cooperative learning. The students are making choices, yet again, ties right into our first strategy. They are gaining social experiences, and it's really good for reluctant readers because they are learning from their social experience and they are working with other students. It's all in their hands. Their discussion is in their hands. The third differentiated strategy that I have is called group investigation. Now, Nancy Gallenstein did a whole report about how group investigation is really beneficial in a social studies context. However, group investigation is really great in all contexts because you can use group investigation with math, with English, with science, in so many different ways, not just social studies. Group investigation. So if we're thinking about science, let's think about metamorphosis. That's really exciting because it goes from a caterpillar into a cocoon and into a butterfly, and just for the brief story there. Now, you can have a group of 4 students. One student can say, okay, how are we going to research this? How do we know it gets from point A to point B, from a caterpillar to a butterfly? Let's do some research. So that one student is going to go ask the teacher. Another student's going to find the text in the book that explains about metamorphosis. Another student's going to use technology. And another student is going to use context clues in the classroom. They all 4 have different jobs, and they all 4 bring back their research from their investigations, and they say, okay, we did this, we found this, we found this. And I guarantee you, when they present it, it is going to be different information from anybody else because they found it from different context, different resources, and they have all new information. Now, one thing that all 3 of these strategies have in common, and it's actually very interesting, is everything is in your students' hands. And that piques their motivation. When a student is interested, they're motivated. I'm going to use a personal example here. I have a 3-year-old son, and he is a very smart little boy. When he is motivated, he is doing everything that I ask him. For example, we'll be doing chores together. When he is motivated to put his clothes away, sweep his floor or make his bed, he will do it right when I ask. And it's phenomenal. But when he's not motivated, when I don't give him the choice of what he wants to do first, he struggles a little bit. So I give him the choice. What one of your activities would you like to do first? And then he'll do them. But he knows each of those things needs to be done. So the more he has the choice, the more it's in his hands, the more excited he's going to get. And that is just a great way to motivate your students and to differentiate the instruction so it's in their hands. When learning is in your students' hands, they're doing their own pace. They're taking their time. They're doing it all on their own. And that you will guide them to gain the information. You'll give them information, you'll help them, but you will also give them the opportunity to tell you, this is the pace that I need to learn at. And that is why these strategies are going to be very beneficial, especially in terms of their interest. Interest in the classroom is extremely important. So I have learned a tremendous amount about interest-based learning while preparing this training session. One thing I wish I had the chance to do was actually implement the strategies and share the results with you. I would have loved to also incorporate video footage of the implementation, but that can be for a future training after the pandemic. I do, however, have several lesson plans ready, and I'm willing to try them out and report what I've learned and found about the plans. If you have lesson plans, please feel free to email them to me at riley.rivera14@gmail.com and share your own experiences. Thank you for viewing today's training, and I hope that you gained just as much as I did from this. Thank you so much.